Hello Minecrafters, Arctic Shark Games here, coming at you with another Minecraft Bedrock Edition command tutorial. Today's tutorial is going to be on a world border. So as you can see, we have a few sets of commands here going on for the world border. First off, you're going to need to go ahead and create yourself a few different scoreboard objectives for this world border. We're using scoreboards rather than tags, which makes it a little bit different than some of the other ones I've seen out there. So first of all, you're going to need to add 2 scoreboard objectives, and you can go ahead and type this in a one-time impulse unconditional needs redstone command block with a button, or you can type this in the main chat window there. Either way, you're going to go /scoreboard objectives add inside border dummy, and that scoreboard is actually going to keep track of whether or not you're inside of the world border. And then they're going to need to add a second objective here, /scoreboard objectives add borderwarn dummy. This one's going to give a warning for about 20 blocks before the players actually exit the world border, making sure that they actually get a chance to turn around, hopefully. Then you're going to need to make sure that you add a ticking area, so you're going to stand where you want your command blocks to be located for the world border. They're going to need to be located all the time. Since we're creating such a large area, they won't be loaded. So you're going to go /tickingarea add circle, tilde, 3 of them there. A radius of 1 would be good if you're just doing the world border, or you could do up to a radius of 4. And then I named this particular ticking area border. That's optional there. But anyways, make sure these commands are located in a ticking area. And then if you're going to actually allow a few players past the world border, what I do sometimes is I locate my command areas past the world border, and I allow admins or moderators or whatever you call your admins there past the border, which is what those 2 commands are doing. So you want to make sure that you actually go ahead and separate your admins from normal players. So you go tag at p r=5 add admin. That would make a button here that any admins can press, and you could have everybody tagged as admin, or you can go ahead and just go /tag player name add admin, and you could manually add all the admins. Once you have yourself 2 scoreboard objectives, a ticking area, and an admin tag, we're ready to get started over here with the main commands. So without further ado, let's jump right into that. What this stack here is doing is this is the actual world border. This stack here of the 4 commands is a border warning. These 2 here are just making sure that everybody is set on the scoreboard at 0, and these 2 here are going to go ahead and exclude admin from it. So the first set of commands here, we have a repeat unconditional always active. I suggest putting this on needs redstone when you test it out, and we'll put a redstone block next to these commands here as we test it. Once we're sure, we can break that redstone block and turn it to always active. So what we have here in the first command is /scoreboard players add at anyone, and then we're going to do scores equals inside a set of brackets. We're going to do inside border equals 0 inside those squiggly brackets. So what that means is anyone with a score of inside, or anyone with the score of 0 on the inside border scoreboard inside of this particular area that we're going to choose gets the inside border score added to them of 1. So we're going to actually give you a point of 1 if you're inside the world. Now if you guys aren't familiar with a DX, DY, DZ area, go ahead and check out my previous video on DX, DY, DZ areas, which I will go ahead and link up at the screen at the end of the video, as well as it'll be right now. And then so you can see here we have a x equals, y equals, z equals, and basically what we're doing here is we're going to choose the actual size of the world border. On a world border, we want to go ahead and let people on the positive and the negative, right? So we're going to choose negative 10,000 as our x-coordinate. That's the very lowest number. And then we're going to go way underneath the world at -110 on our y, so that we can definitely get down below that bedrock so players can go all the way down there without being messed with. And the z, we're going to go ahead and choose negative 10,000 as well. So that means we'd be setting our world border to negative 10,000. If you wanted to set your world border to a larger size, you would write that in there. And then you can see I have a DX, DY, DZ area. The DX on this, because we chose 10,000 for our world border, would be then 20,000. And what that means is the first 10,000 blocks is for the negative range, and the second 20,000 blocks would be for the positive range of your DX, DZ area. You want to make sure that you have it large enough for the whole square. And then we have a DY of 600, which then takes us from well below the bedrock to well above the build limit, which is now 320. And then we have a DZ of 20,000 as well. So if you could picture, we chose a corner at +10,000, +10,000, and we did that using our DX, DY, DZ area. and then we chose its corner at negative 10,000, negative 10,000 using our first set of coordinates. So that's basically how we choose the actual set of dx, dy, dz area if you're not familiar with it. But to keep that real simple, basically the negative number needs to be the size that you actually want the border, and the dx, dy, dz, the dx and the dz at least, need to be double that number. So if I was going to go ahead and set this one at let's say 20,000 for my actual world border, that would make this 40,000 for the DZ. So you want to make sure that you have that at double. I know that was a mouthful there, so please make sure you replay that there and you definitely get your DX, DY, DZ area correct. And then coming out of that, we have a chain unconditional, always active, and then you're going to go ahead and teleport at anyone, scores equals, and then inside of brackets, inside border equals 0. And then you're going to do your set of coordinates for spawn. So that's my set of coordinates there, sending us back to spawn. Yours could be wherever the safe landing place is to reject people from the world border. And then this third command here is scoreboard players remove at anyone scores equals inside border 1. And then you're going to remove inside border 1. So basically what this is doing here, it's a little bit confusing, but this is adding a point to anyone inside of the correct area, and then it's teleporting anyone that didn't get a point because they're not inside the correct area. Then it's removing a point from everyone, and it's going around the cycle again, which is pretty much exactly what this next set of commands is doing, except for I also added a nasty sound to it, and this one is using the border warning scoreboard. So the first command here is a repeat unconditional always active, and you want to make sure that you have this set on a 60 tick delay, and this one actually I forgot to write in here. This needs to be set on a 120 tick delay. Those tick delays are important here. And then this one here is / scoreboard players add at anyone, and then this is the exact same command as that previous one nearly, except for doing at anyone scores equals borderwarn 0. So you could basically just pick block that other one if you wanted to, and you could change the scoreboard name to borderwarn here, and at the end you're going to make sure you change that to borderwarn as well. And then you can see that our coordinates that we use now, instead of being negative 10,000 for our world border, we came in 20 blocks inside of that at negative 9,980. So we're giving you a 20 block warning over there at that negative portion of the world. And then you can see we have the same y and same dy. But then on z we also have minus 9,980 as well. So we're basically coming 20 blocks inside our desired world border, and then you're going to go ahead and come 40 blocks inside of your desired dx dy area. So that's a little bit confusing, but because we had that set on 20,000 blocks earlier in our dx dy area, we now have that set on 19,960, which leaves 20 blocks on each side of the world as a buffer zone for the players to actually get a warning. And then, of course, at the end there, you're doing border warn 1 rather than inside border 1. And then this one goes into the next command, which is apologize for clicking off there, chain unconditional always active / title at anyone scores equals border warn 0 action bar. You are entering world border, turn around now, and then I use some fancy colors and stuff there. And basically that's going to go ahead and the same thing as last time. This is going to give anyone a point who's not inside of the warning area. Basically they're in the good area, and then if you don't have that point, it's going to yell this message at you, and then it's going to go into this next chain unconditional always active command, which plays a sound / play sound mob.gas.scream at anyone scores equals borderwarn equals 0. And then this here gives you that point back so they can restart the cycle. We go / scoreboard players remove at anyone scores equals borderwarn equals 1, borderwarn 1. So you want to make sure that all your commands inside of this video, all your chain ones, are on unconditional, as well as all your repeat ones are on always active after you've tested them, as well as unconditional. So that right there is your world border. That is your world border warning. These two here are going to make sure when a new player joins that they actually are on the border warn of 0 rather than getting a point by mistake or anything like that. So just to be sure, you do an always active command with no delay / scoreboard players add at anyone border warn 0, and then this is an identical command. It just says inside border 0, and that's always active with no tick delay. And then it's totally up to you now if you're going to allow your admin to go outside of the world border or not. If you do, just make sure to explain to them why you have that world border. and that you want to go ahead and try to keep your file size down, or you're trying not to load new chunks for new generation, make sure everyone understands that. And if you want to give them no restrictions and send them past the world border, you would go ahead and do scoreboard player set at anyone tag equals admin. You can remember we went ahead and tagged all our admin earlier on in the video, so after everyone has a tag, you're all set to run this command. And you do inside border 2. By putting them on the inside border 2 and the border warning of 2, you have excluded them from having their scores added and removed in this test. So the admins will no longer be tested for the world border, and they can freely go past the world border at that point and work on admin builds or whatever it is that they need to do. And then this is an identical command as well, scoreboard player set at anyone tag equals admin, except for we have borderwarn 2 here instead, just so you don't get that annoying message and sound constantly while you're past the border. And that's a chain unconditional command as well. You want to make sure that you have all your chain commands facing up into each other. These guys here don't really matter where you put them. That doesn't matter. One thing about this particular system, or if you're using similar world border systems, such as the one that uses tags, you're going to want to make sure that you take a copy of this inside border command and this borderwarn command. I'm talking about these long ones here with the dx, area. These two commands need to be brought into a ticking area inside of both dimensions. So if you're lucky enough you already have command room in each dimension like I do, or you have an area where you've been allowing players to teleport to with my cross-dimensional NPC, either way you're going to need to use one of those ticking areas if you have one, or you're going to need to go stand in an area in the nether and you're going to need to create a ticking area and then the end as well and run this command here. And you're going to need to go ahead and store this particular repeat unconditional always active command, except for you're going to need to take the tick delay down and put the tick delay on more like 5 or 10. So what I'll do is I'll put this here on 10 as an example, and you're going to take this and you're going to put it inside your nether comm room and your end comm room, and you're going to do the same thing here. And then if you put that on 10, you're going to have this one on half, so we're going to put this one on 5, and they're going to have this one also inside of the end and inside of the nether. Otherwise this world border can, hello there Mr. Creeper, otherwise this world border can mess with us and allow you, and prevent you guys rather, from going through the end portal and the nether portal, and it will reject them back to the overworld spawn where they will be unhappy that they couldn't get to the end after all that work or whatever it is there. So you want to make sure that you add these in a ticking area in all the dimensions, as well as you follow very carefully on this system here. This system can sort of create an issue for you guys where it can create what I call a teleporting loop. So if these commands are done wrong and no one is excluded with scoreboards or as admin, then players are going to get caught in a loop where they just get repeatedly sent back to spawn because the game thinks they're not inside of the border that we've created. So one way to kind of protect yourself from that is when you're testing this, like I said earlier, just make sure you switch all these to needs redstone before you finish typing them. Actually, these two can be left always active. It doesn't really matter because they're just adding a 0. But you're going to make sure, in particular, this border warning and this inside border, at least, are set on needs redstone, and you only test them with a redstone block at first so that you can go ahead and figure out if they're working well. Another pro tip here is if you actually write down this coordinate here, 252, 4, 232 is my coordinate where I'm putting the redstone block, and then you find yourself caught in a teleporting loop, and this is in a ticking area, you should be able to then run a fill command and remove this redstone block with air and then break the commands without having to completely restart. If all of that fails and no one is able to help you, what you can go ahead and do is you can go into your game settings and you can go ahead and turn command blocks off, which is a real bummer to do because it can mess up a lot of other stuff. But if you are honestly stuck inside of a teleportation loop, this is a good option for you. So you're going to want to go into your game settings, and then we're going to go down into the area where it shows the cheats. You can see I have cheats active, and this one here, command blocks enabled. You want to toggle that off, and then you're going to go back into the game and you're going to break your redstone block, and you're going to toggle that back on, and then you're going to figure out what went wrong. Those are a couple options to get yourselves out of teleportation loops. I hope that you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please go ahead and like and subscribe over here at Arctic Shark Games on YouTube and Arctic Shark Games on Twitch.